Yes. Right. What better time than to recession proof your business than now, right? When was the best time? Probably in the spring. When's the second best time? Right now. Right now. So you're in the right place today. If any of this sounds like you, if you are struggling to get solid clients consistently and referrals, if you have a problem when you add realtors to your CRM, but none of them have sent you a referral, if you have trouble connecting with realtors and you have trouble finding time to actually work on your business, right? What you do when you're talking to clients, when you're working on a loan application, that's in your business. Today, we're actually going to work on your business, because if you don't work on your business, I'm sure you guys know you're not going to have anything to work on in your business. So if you're dealing with a lot of changes at the same time, this will help you get organized. If you're wondering who has all the good referrals and deals, you're in the right place. If you struggle with call reluctance, more and more loan officers I talk to right now are having problems with call reluctance. If you're losing clients to high interest rates, you're in the right place. If the slowing market is hurting you, you're in the right place. If you're unsure how to reach out and make new connections and build relationships with quality referral partners, you're in the right place. If you're struggling with rate competition or you don't have the confidence you want when it comes to recruiting referral partners, we're going to help you with that. And if you just haven't found a way to get into that small circle of loan officers that the realtors you know are all sending those referrals to, we're going to help you crack that today. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Elysia Stobbe, America's #1 mortgage authority, #1 best-selling author of How to Get Approved for the Best Mortgage Without Sticking a Fork in Your Eye, Pulitzer Prize nominated, and master coach. I'm so excited to share with you my latest development. As you know, for years, I've developed systems that help loan officers work smarter instead of harder. And if you don't want to be stuck to your phone, cold calling 24/7, everything you need to crack that code, we're going to go through today. So we're going to show you how to recession proof your mortgage business by building a massive referral network in as little as 5 minutes a day. And with that, I'm going to introduce Rocco to you. He's my business partner. He has an amazing background in prospecting and sales. He's been doing it for how many decades now, Rocco?
You trying to date me here?
No, I mean, this is my 20th anniversary in the loan officer.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know.
I got into the prospecting game, and you'll hear me talk a little bit about sales today, gang, but I'm going to talk chiefly about prospecting because I've made that my world for probably 25 years now, is where I've spent most of my adult life in and around that game. So I think I could be a good resource to help people out today for sure. And that's and thanks for that introduction, Elysia. You know, I have worked and trained a direct sales team into the thousands of people that I had working with me, and I've been through, I think, just about every obstacle when it comes to building a client base or referral base that's out there. Either I experienced it myself, or I've seen people go through the struggles and have been able to coach and work their way through it. I've had mentors. I've been a mentor. You know, I know that you the same, specifically within your organization there. I've had compadres, people that have been going through the struggle right along with me. So been there and done some of that stuff. And it's a pretty big promise that you put here on this introductory slide to build a massive referral network in as little as 5 minutes a day. So it's up to us to be able to deliver on that promise here for everybody today. So I'm excited to jump into the content here. And you know, at the end of the conversation that we're going to have here, because I hope this is going to be engaging for everybody, to where you'll participate either in the chat or at the end we've got some open Q&A that we'll talk about as well. But we're gonna share with you a way to kind of grease the skids on some of your prospecting activities with a platform that we call authentic sharing technology. So stay tuned for that. But I want you to know this: there's nothing that's really intimidating, that you might hear some things like, wow, how am I going to do that? But I promise you, it's not. Anything that I work with has to be simple, because I'm not the brightest guy in the world. When I use a system, it has to be very easy and intuitive for to understand and be able to execute on pretty easily, or I'll get distracted and find something else to do with my time. More promises that we have to keep here. Cold calling is probably not something. If you are a massive cold caller, good for you. I'm going to tell you right now, there's nothing wrong with it. And I still think that the phone is probably the best medium as a way to get ourselves connected with people. But we're not going to stalk people. We're not going to teach you how to do that either. And go crazy over, inputting data into a clunky CRM. And you don't have to design any sales funnels, right? And I know that's a lot of things that people pay attention to out on the line. But everything that we'll talk with you about today, you can actually just run right from your little device that you're probably holding right next to you there and not paying attention to me. So you can do it anywhere and anytime. And that's pretty much a necessity, because we believe that most of you have a cell phone. It's probably how you found your way here. So forgive some of the small print on here, but just a quick couple bullet points on here and things that we're going to talk about, so you can get a feel for some things that you'll walk away with. We're going to talk about some of the root cause for lack of sales, and we'll spend our first couple of minutes there. We're going to give you a blueprint there that you can get out there and engage with realtors to build a massive referral network. And then we're going to talk with you about a process for what we call manual funnels, right? Manual funnels, and you think about most funnels, when you think of automations, like set it and forget it. You live in an industry, in a world where that's just not capable for getting long-term results for you. So we'll share with how some of that works, and then we'll talk about some some boring scientific stuff, levers of influence, specific ways that you can kind of pull at the strings of somebody to get them to pay more attention to you, and get yourself in a spot where you can gain more business. And then we'll go on a little bit more, and Elysia will talk about some of what we call our secret weapon for you to get those referrals that you're looking for. So stay tuned for some of that information. But where I want to go first is I'm going to ask us, like, we got 50 plus people that have joined in here this morning. And as Elysia mentioned, I know that you're all at the end of the month. But this is kind of an investment here of your time that I'm going to ask you all, if you're able to just close down some of the other things that you're doing. If you pay attention here, those promises that we put in the beginning on those first couple slides there, this will be something that will allow you to take your business to the next level. We can't deliver on that promise if you're not engaged with it. This is a two-way street here. So stay with us. This is where you're going to get the most out of the content here this morning. I know you all probably show up for presentations on a regular basis and get asked, people ask you to do this sort of thing, but there's a reason why. It's how it works, right? Like, it's how you can actually get things to slip past your conscious awareness into your subconscious mind. It's by narrowing your focus and drilling down here for a bit. So with that said, I'm going to get us started here. Now, look.
I'm going to jump in real quick, Rocco, and just challenge everybody to not only close your Outlook or whatever, your Gmail. I'm going to challenge you guys to put those cell phones on silent, face down. We're not going to take up more than an hour of your time, and turn the camera on. Giovanni knows the deal. Who else? Let's see you guys.
Who's the brave?
All right, Dave. Awesome. I just challenge you guys to be engaged. All right, Marcin. Great job, buddy. Mike, fantastic. Greg. All right, great. Awesome. So the more we see you, the more we know you're engaged, which is what we love, because we don't want to be here and take up your time and have you guys not get value. That's the whole reason we're doing this, is to give you guys added value.
Yeah. Good stuff. And look, one of those bullet points, I want to qualify something before we jump in. The idea of not needing to make a cold call again, if you don't want to, I want you to understand this, that each one of you came to the call this morning, and on average, I already know that you have about 2,000 people who you're connected with. You on average have about 250 people contact information stored in your mobile device right now. You have somewhere around 7 LinkedIn connections. You have a few hundred Facebook friends on average. And by the time you combine Instagram and Twitter or TikTok, wherever else you're spending your time at, that number comes to about 2,000 people. And I also understand that those people might seem to be cold connections to you because you probably haven't spent a lot of time connecting with all 2,000 people. It's kind of hard to do. But the reality is they know who you are. And where I see most people struggle is they have a tendency sometimes to try and focus on connecting with people that they don't know versus utilizing the marketplace that they already have access to. And there's been a lot of research and studies done on this from various industries, but it will cost you, and you will waste more time, probably 5 times the amount of money that you'll spend and 5 times the amount of actual time you spend trying to engage with somebody new than working with somebody who's already in your orbit, or what I call your marketable universe. So my first question to engage everyone before we jump into some of the core of this stuff here now is, how many of you have a strategic way on a regular basis to get your story told better and more often? When I say your story, what you do, what you're about, right? And I was thinking about some of this morning. In the chat box, give me a yes or a no if you have a strategic way to stay in front of the marketable universe of people that you already know. A yes or no in the chat box. And Elysia, you can keep an eye on that so I can keep going and respect everybody's time. Now, look, if some of you are new, and a big part of what we're going to talk about today here is getting realtor engagement, I want to challenge you that maybe not your 2,000 people are realtors, right? And you're like, well, how can I go about connecting with people who don't know who I am yet? And there is, you're saying you don't have to cold call, but you can, right? The one thing I want to tell you is that of those 2,000 people, a large portion of them have bought homes in the past, and they've used realtors to do that, right? So being able just to leverage that network and being able to create a communication strategy that might say something on the lines of reaching out to people and reigniting your network that you have. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot here today, is that, hey, I'm doing some market research on the state of the real estate industry, and I understand that you own a home. How is the real estate agent that you worked with? Do you have their contact information? Were they good? Would you think they'd be somebody good to partner with for somebody in the industry that I'm in? And somebody might say to you, well, what is it that you do? And I would say something on the lines, again, I'm not in your industry. I just make this up in my head sometimes as I go along. I might say something on the lines of, well, you know how most people, when they go to apply for a mortgage loan, it's at the last minute, and then they're uneducated. They don't understand market conditions or any of that sort of stuff. What I do is I educate them in advance of how the loan process works, and I keep them updated on market conditions because the economy is always changing. That way, so when they do go to need mortgage financing, they're in a better spot to be able to go through that with less stress, right? And that's just a little elevator type pitch there. But anyway, let's get into this. Now, don't get distracted by the image over there on the right side of the screen. We're going to get to that at the end. But, I'll qualify one thing at the top of this, is that over the past year or so, I don't even know how long, probably even longer than that now, Elysia, who, again, she probably didn't edify herself enough, but when we talk about best-selling author and all the success that she's had, you can go and check it out and do some research, right? Like, sometimes it's okay to be a copycat as long as you're copying the right cat. And over the past year or so, Elysia has developed a platform here that you're all going to be able to have access to that basically is going to allow you to do exactly that. So stay tuned for that, right? Now, look, when it comes to one of the things that I've learned is that there is definitely a severe reason why we all can sometimes find ourselves with an empty pipeline. And I can promise you this, whether you're brand new or you've been in the industry for years, it's not that you don't have talent. It's not that you don't have the skills or presentation ability, because all that stuff can potentially be learned anyway, right? Elysia was just telling me the other day about, some of the things that are going on in your industry now. And it's not caused, there's going to be down markets, rising interest rates, inferior loan products essentially out there that people, you're like, oh my God, I need to have this loan product, or interest rates are going crazy here. Those market conditions they're going to come and they're going to go, but it's never stopped Elysia from being one of the top producers out there. And as talented as she is and all the skills that she has and all that other good stuff, that's not the reason why she's always able to keep her pipeline filled, right? The reason why she's always able to keep her pipeline filled is because she's a consistent prospector when she's in her business and doing what she needs to do. What I have found is that most people are very, very good at being able to give presentations, talk about the value of the loan products that they offer, and they can actually bring somebody through a sales cycle. I'm not here to talk about sales with you all right now. I'm here to talk about what happens before that, which is prospecting. And what I want you to know is that they are two very different things in my world, right? And this is why I said before in the beginning, the 25-year, what I tried to do when I first got involved in a business where I needed to find my own customers and I needed to present my offer to them, I couldn't understand. I worked so hard on my sales ability, right? And I couldn't understand why I wasn't finding the success that I was looking for. And it took me probably 2 years to figure out that as good as I was getting at sales, I was a terrible prospector. There is a difference between the two. And if you have to wear both hats, you got to figure out a way to separate them. Prospecting, my friends, it's asking somebody for a commitment of their time, right? Sales is where you're asking somebody for a commitment of their resources. Prospecting is where you want to get people to pay attention to you. Sales is when you got the opportunity to actually have them go through a sales cycle with you. Now, listen, here's the thing. Developing what I would call the mindset of a prospector, it's something that's definitely within your control. And it's also something that's necessary to keep a full pipeline. But here's the good news. You know, on the slide we talked about in the beginning there, one of those bullet points talked about 5 minutes a day. I'm going to challenge you to do a little bit more than that. But I'm not going to ask you to spend 6 to 8 hours a day prospecting. What I've seen over and over again, and I've gotten in my own ruts and had this happen. Again, lots of people go through this. So maybe I'd like to hear from you all. Give me in the chat box if you ever experienced this. You put off the necessary prospecting activities. And then as the end of the month starts coming or whatever it is for you, you're like, today's my day. And then we try and make up for maybe 3 weeks of not prospecting in 1 or 2 days. And we're like, all right, today's the day. I'm banging the phones. I'm pounding the pavement, whatever we're doing. And then 6 to 8 hours go by. And maybe you found a couple opportunities, right? A couple things fall through the cracks for you. Good for you. That's great, right? But we say to ourselves, man, that was really hard. I can't do that every day. And there's this notion out there that you have to spend 6 to 8 hours a day prospecting because we don't do it. And if you only do it 1 day a month or 2 days a month, then that will be true and it'll be hard and you'll always want to put it off, right? But here's the thing. Remember this, what did the doctor tell us when we were growing up, Elysia, right? The doctor said,
1 apple a day, baby.
Never
Keeps the
said,
doctor away.
He never said eat 30 apples in 1 day, right? So how many of you right now, yes or no in the chat box there, how many of you try to eat 30 apples in 1 day when it comes to your prospecting activities, right? My next thing I want to share with you is that, yeah, 5 minutes a day, you can build a pipeline. And it'll be a pipeline that can follow you around if you just do a handful of prospecting activities. But I think if you're coming from behind the 8 ball a little bit, meaning that it's important for you to build your pipeline faster, I'm going to ask you to stretch it to 30, maybe an hour a day, right? And the time value for that, you get to be able to compound it. I think anything more than that, again, it just depends on what your world looks like, but you can wind up burning out fast. And again, it becomes, you would get sick from eating 30 apples in 1 day. So I'm going to encourage you not to do that. So anyway, the next thing that we want to talk about is like, hey, why do we prospect to begin with, right? I've seen so often it's like, well, I want to close a sale. That's a different activity. That's a different hat, right? The first thing that we have to do is get an appointment in order to do that, right? And sometimes we can feel disappointed if we don't get an appointment when we do the prospecting activity. You spend 2 hours prospecting, no appointments. And you say to yourself, well, that didn't work. That's not true. Because if you knew the other 2 bullet points, what they were doing there for you, you're going to wind up, again, staying consistent with what you're doing and setting an appointment. There'll be people asking you to set an appointment with them, right? Because the other 2 things are coming to fruition. When I prospect, the number 1 thing I want to try and do is build familiarity first. I'm going in reverse of these bullet points, right? The reason why it's more expensive and it takes more time to connect with somebody who doesn't know you is because it's the law of familiarity kicking in. They say somewhere around 20 to 50 times do you have to put yourself out there in front of somebody before they're willing to buy or join something, or whatever the case may be. On the flip side, when you've engaged with people that become familiar with, it's actually closer to like, 7 to 12, something like that. So building familiarity is necessity with that network they have. That's why I asked that question in the beginning of all the 2,000 contacts that you have right now that could be flooding your pipeline with business. Why are they not doing that? And it's because you have to take advantage of the law of familiarity. And the other neat thing about prospecting is it allows me to gather intel. I consider my database of contacts to be the single biggest asset, the most important thing that I have in my entire arsenal of when it comes to my sales and business development, right? And the worst thing that I could do is spend time with unqualified prospects. You follow me on that, gang? So remember this: gathering intel, learning about your prospect, extracting information is going to allow you to establish when is the best time to build familiarity. When is the opportunity? When is their buying window potentially going to be open? And learning more about that. And those might seem like small wins, but sometimes if somebody goes right to setting an appointment with you, it might also mean they're shopping around to 10 other people, all right? So sometimes I would almost rather have the other 2 bullet points. Elysia, any thoughts there?
Yeah, I was just gonna chime in that also one of the pain points I hear a lot from loan officers is that, they've called that realtor, every Monday for weeks. They don't get anywhere. They keep calling. And then finally, the realtor agrees to see them for coffee. They go to coffee, and really the realtor is just saying, okay, I'll have coffee with you. Stop calling me, right? That's what they're saying, because you haven't done any of the other steps to build trust, to build familiarity, and to gather intel on what that realtor really wants. But you hound them, they go on the coffee date with you, and then, of course, you're asking for a deal, right? Or if you didn't, then what are you even doing at the coffee date, right? But yeah. And then they get ghosted by the realtor. Well, yeah, it's because you didn't build the proper steps to even show why they needed you, right? It's obvious you're a loan officer, you want their business. But if you don't do these other prospecting, not sales, prospecting steps first, you're trying to skip ahead and it doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
So, and you bring up an important point, and that's where we're going to go to next, because there are certain rules when it comes to prospecting. Again, going back to some of those potential bullet points that we want to try and solve for today and some of our promises. Here's the thing: we are about to give you the shortcut to the shortcut, but there's still a time element involved if you are not already strategically engaged in some of the things that we're going to cover here. So if you're going to take 5 minutes, 20 minutes a day, half hour, an hour, whatever that's going to be most appropriate for you and your business, the thing that I want you to focus on is the activity that you do for the next 60 to 90 days, not your results. Okay? The activity right now is going to matter more than your results. It's the lead measure in your business. The way that you're going to be able to predict your future results is going to come from the activity that you do today. So I can promise you that if you are solely relying on saying, I don't have time to do that because I need business now, today, and you're buying cold market leads, and you're spending all these marketing and advertising dollars. If it's feeding you right now, that's great. But the sustainability of that will not work long term. It never does. In your type of industry, where I've learned more and studied in the past year since I've been working with Elysia, and in other industries that I've been, like, you are taking ownership and responsibility for being your own rainmaker, for being the one out there shaking hands and kissing babies with the people that you need to be around. So stay with me here. Now we're going to talk about manual funnels, which again, it should kind of trigger something in your mind that says, when I think of funnel marketing, right? You think of set it and forget it, click funnels, be here, do that. And all of a sudden, boom, a day later, you're going to have a prospect that falls out the bottom because they glommed onto your lead magnet and that sort of thing. I don't think of that. I think of a funnel in my prospecting twisted language that I use is stages of contacts where I want to bring them from one stage to the next. And this is some internal lingo here. And by the way, if you are taking notes, I'm going to encourage you to try and jot down some of this stuff and think about, in your world where you've probably done some of this and maybe you just haven't systemically gone through it. But of those 2,000 people, they all live in one of these four stages, categories of contacts, if you want to call them that, right? And when I say that, I mean that awareness, well, let me correct myself. They live, the 2,000 people that I already know, they live in those bottom three, in either enrichment, credibility, or motivate stage. And I'm going to define all this stuff for you here in a second. Awareness are people who I don't know yet, but I would want to, right? And I would need to make them aware of who I am. So again, thinking about your marketable universe now, there are those 2,000 people roughly that you're already connected with. And of course, there are millions and millions of people who you are not connected with, but potentially could be a good lead for you or a referral partner for you, right? Every human being that we know lives in one of these four categories, and we're going to break them down here for a second. So again, awareness simply means you want to make somebody who you don't know aware of who you are, right? Then there are people that live in our list of 2,000, right? That we're either loosely or closely connected with. Enrichment basically means somebody that I know at a distance, but I need to build a stronger relationship with them. I need to enrich that relationship. And my hunch, my intuition tells me that where most of us struggle on here when it comes to engaging with the people that we know, it's because we've created a connection, we've exchanged a business card, we've met somebody, they know who we are, but we really haven't done a good job in strengthening our relationship with those individuals. And now it might feel weird or awkward to go back to them and kind of present your expertise to them as a future client for you or a referral partner, right? If that's the case for anybody out there, I'd love to, and Elysia, I don't know if you're checking in the chat, but I'd like to know if a lot of people feel like that they get stuck there. Meaning, great, I have these 2,000 people, but I feel super weird going back to them and trying to engage them in a conversation, asking them who their realtor is, or when's the next time they're going to buy or sell a house or potentially refinance. That's just strange. So the enrichment stage of a contact is building that relationship. It's bringing them back into your universe. It's not selling time with those people. It's time to get them back into your universe. When it comes to the next stage of a contact, it's establishing credibility with them. And what I want you to know what I mean by that is there are plenty of people who I do have a very strong relationship with, but they might not think I am a good business person, right? And so what I need to be able to do is once I've established and enriched my relationship, then I need to work on establishing some credibility that I'm the right person for them to do business with. And gang, only after I've made sure that I've gone through these first three manual funnel steps do I get to a spot where I've earned the right to try and motivate them to a call to action. And what I think that what people do more often than not, whether they try and automate their way to it or they just go for the kill on the first phone call, is they will start either at the awareness level or enrichment level and then try and bring them right through to actually moving forward to that awkward meeting with the realtor, whether it's like the mercy meeting that they give you, or even just to a spot where you're trying to get a transaction complete with somebody. It's a recipe for disaster long-term for this process here that we're talking about. So how do we work through these stages, these manual funnel stages? Again, one more thing I'll state here before we move on, and I'll kind of pick up the pace here a little bit, Elysia. But when it comes to these stages of contacts, again, you might already be past stages 1 and 2 with a lot of your people. So when I'm telling you to take a handful of people from your list of 2,000 each day, this is where your 5 minutes a day comes in at, where you take a handful of these people each day and you start moving them through these steps strategically, which we're going to teach you how to do in a second. The idea is you don't have to take somebody, like I wouldn't take my sister and start her out at the enrichment stage of our relationship. I'm there already with her, right? So you can skip past that. The problem with a lot of automation systems that are out there, and there are some really neat ones and cool things out there and that sort of thing, but there is no entry point where you can bring somebody in midway through the funnel, right? And so you wind up kind of eliminating all the people who don't know who you are yet, and they're your best source of repeat business, satisfied customers, people that will essentially be in your world forever. So let's talk about how to go through these stages here. And when I talk about levers of influence, right, and these are the things that you're going to do to move these contacts that you have from one stage to the next stage of your manual funnel. Now, the thing about levers of influence is they are tied to what we would call judgmental heuristics. There are levers of influence because they allow us to make shortcut decisions, right? When we are influenced by somebody, we don't always examine all the information. I talked to you all about Alicia's credibility at the beginning of the call. She talked to you a little bit about some of the things that I've done in the past, right? And what you're saying to yourself, and we'll talk about authority as a lever of influence in a second. Wow, that person has authority. I don't need to know her social security number. I don't need to know everything else about her. I'm going to listen because she's been identified as a person of authority. So your judgmental heuristic of yourself is saying, I'm going to pay attention here. And that's how levers of influence work. When I am working on somebody who doesn't know who I am yet, and I want them to know who I are, there are two levers of influence that I can pull on to be able to get them to essentially come into my marketable world. The first thing is I want to be able to leverage what I would call authenticity, meaning that when I reach out to somebody, I want to be authentic in my communication to them. I might say something to them like, hey, Giovanni, I'm reaching out to you. You don't know me yet. I'm not hiding behind automations, but I'm reaching out to introduce myself because I see that I could potentially be an asset for you in your world somewhere. Hope you'd be happy to connect with me. Can I send you my contact information? Like, I am taking a level of authenticity into it there. And here's the thing, I'm going to give you some scary information here for a second. Before the day ends today, every one of us is going to see somewhere around 5,000 marketing impressions that are put in front of our eyeballs. You're going to see ads on the web, your TV commercials, billboards, you name it. The average person sees about 5,000 marketing ads. As human beings, we've become conditioned to filter out about 99.9% of that stuff because we know it's being mass marketed to us. So the reason why I'm telling you that is because you might be saying to yourself right now, wow, here's me. I am a solopreneur, independent person. I got to get out there and build my business. How am I going to get my marketing message to cut through the noise of Coca-Cola, who's spending $1 billion to get 10 seconds of your customers' eyeballs to pay attention to them? How are you going to get your message through to them so they actually connect with you? And it's so easy to do if you understand authenticity, right? Like, reach out and be authentic in your communication. And when you do that, you're going to start to establish that. The other thing that you're going to want to do is create messages and language around that new connection that is relevant and relatable to their world, right? Like, I'm going to let them know that I understand the pain of what you all might be going through in your industry. Lisa's kind of informed me of all this stuff now. We're going to be, problem finders first for people and then solution after that. We're going to identify problems and relate that to those people and let them know that we understand that. So that's how we start to create awareness. And all of a sudden, people that we don't know start to identify us as somebody that it's okay to know, right? And after we've created awareness, well, what do we do when somebody is now part of our world? Like those 2,000 people, if you don't need to go out and talk to anybody new, forget about awareness, right? You're already good. Stick with enrichment. Further deepen those relationships. You can do that with two important levers of influence. The first thing you can do is the simplest thing in the world is to pay somebody a compliment, right? When you pay, the best way that you can ever get somebody to like you is you express something that you appreciate in them. No matter what, people are always going to like people. The two common denominators, if I had an identical twin, the same personality and everything else, right? And you were trying to decide which one of us you liked better. And I simply said, hey, I appreciate being connected with a high caliber person like you, Elysia. Most likely she's gonna be like, there's something about that guy. he's better than the twin brother, right? So when we want to start to re-engage those relationships, right? If that's where you're stuck at and you have a lot of people that are in that list of 2,000 or all those people out there you're afraid you're gonna get, just reach out and give them a nice compliment, right? It's a good way to start the process. Do not talk about sales. Do not talk about establishing credibility. We're going to get to that in a second, but stick it in the world of paying them a compliment. And once you've done that, another way to further strengthen that relationship is start to add value to their world. And there are plenty of ways to do that within the industry that you're in. I love your industry. You know why I love your industry? Because everybody is a prospect for your industry. I've been involved in industries and businesses where that's just not the case. There was no choice but to cold call because then the target person that we were after was such a narrow audience that, that it was the only way to get to them. Your world is way different. excuse me, and you're never going to run out of potential people to talk to. So adding value is something as simple as being able to educate people. And one of the things that we'll talk about here in the tool when we get to it there is that we did some research. We found from JD Power and Associates, we found a survey that was conducted. And this is why I like almost want to jump into your industry as everybody else is retreating. 72%, hear me out, take notes on this one and you'll be able to see the content here in a second, but 72% of people that have worked with a loan officer or that were engaged in mortgage financing process were dissatisfied with the person that they worked with. 72%. That means more than 7 out of 10 people, right, that are out there dealing with your competitors, they're unhappy with the people that they dealt with. Now, if a way for me to add value to Elysia's world, if I went to her and I'm like, Elysia, did you know, I want you to be careful the next time. Now I started to establish a relationship a little bit with her. Hey, let me give you some value, Elysia, because did you know 7 out of 10 people in your industry that they are unhappy with the person that they chose to help them with their loan? I'm not saying that you need to use me. I'm just giving you the information. And gang, when you do that, like when you are the person that points out the problem, see, people don't care what your solution is until they know they have a problem, right? But once you've identified what the problem is, if Elysia woke me up to something, she's like, hey, you need to pay attention to this. Most of the time, I'm going to go back looking for the solution to my problem from the person who informed me I had the problem to begin with, right? This is probably the #1 way to be a master prospector. Of everything else that I'm going to show you, that I believe that to be, like, and maybe it's that article will give you access to it and you could use that. But what I'm talking about more is the process of being a problem finder and creating value by alerting people to it. They will come to you if you are the one that points it out to them, okay? So now we've gotten to a spot where, we've complimented the person, we've added some value to their world. Now what we'd like to do, now that doesn't mean, again, Elysia might not think that I'm a great mortgage rep just because I shared that information with her. Well, how can I establish credibility with her? The 2 levers of influence that I can pull on there is #1, social proof, and also #2, authority. And when I'm talking about social proof, it doesn't just mean that you need thousands of testimonials, right? The reverse engineering of something like that is by getting something that can be able to say the state of the economy or the industry that you're part of. And there are tons of case studies and information out there where there's like the same thing that we talked about before about adding value, where we got that JD Power and Associates report out there. Like that's another form of social proof. It's also adding value. But the idea there is that we have a tendency as human beings, right, to kind of, one of the quick judgmental heuristics that we make sometimes is when you see a long line of people at the restaurant, and then there's the other restaurant right next door to it, and there's no line, what is the assumption that you make? You don't need to taste the food to know. You just go get in the line. So we have a tendency sometimes to conform when we don't have all the information. We have a tendency sometimes to conform what others are doing. So by providing that type of social proof to people, it's going to bring them closer into your world and help establish credibility for you. In addition to that, you can establish authority without being the expert, right? And you could do that by finding, there's a, what's the organization? Inman, Elysia?
Oh yeah, Inman. We got a great article from Inman.
So I don't know Inman as well as you, but they are considered to be one of the leading authorities in real estate and mortgage, correct?
Yes, for real estate.
Most credible real estate agents would probably have a clue who they are and would, and probably understand them as being a respected authority. Absolutely. So if I was approaching a brand new real estate agent trying to establish credibility, because I've done the other 2 steps, I've gotten them aware of who I am, I've started to build a relationship with them. Now I want to establish credibility. I might go to them with an article from Inman that we've sourced, a report that talks about the value that realtors and mortgage professionals, the synergy that they create from working with each other. Now, I'm not Inman. I might be brand new in the business, but that realtor is saying, wow, Inman's an authority, and all of a sudden I get to kind of be a mini authority of it as well, because I'm the one who presented that information. So I've latched onto that authority for me. And that's how I can start to move somebody into a spot where I've actually earned the right to motivate them into a call to action in these manual funnel steps. And what we're going to talk about is we're going to show you some tools here in a second to do that. But solution alignment is you taking all the intel that you've been able to gather from that prospect and being able to put that back in front of them, right? And you can basically say to them, hey, based on everything that I've learned about you, here's what I've learned. You've told me this, you've basically engaged with that. And based on that information, you should take some time with me for a meeting. And what I'm talking about is like, wow, we just went through all this stuff to ask for a meeting for a cup of coffee. Why didn't I just ask him for the meeting for the cup of coffee at the beginning, right? And we know why. Because it's either the mercy meeting or it's a no-show, or they never even answer the phone or call you back when you reach out to engage. Are these steps necessary? Yes, this is the shortcut to the shortcut. And if you violate and you try and skip some of these steps and go through this, you're going to wind up getting stuck and being wondering why things aren't going the direction that you want them to. So here's the thing. We're going to show you something inside Elysia's platform here in a second. It's a simple survey that we put together. And basically it asks a couple questions of a realtor. She calls it, what is it? The Love Your Lender survey.
Love your lender. And this is after the first two steps. Just so you know where it is in the process.
Yep. And when you're, and so it's just a quick market research survey that you can send out to a realtor to ask them how they like to be worked with when it comes to referring a mortgage person, how often they like to be called, what's the follow-up steps they like, and you're going out of your way to learn about them. But here's a couple of other things that are in the questionnaire, and you can create your own questions. All this stuff that we're showing you is stuff that you can do manually. With the app that we'll show you here is a way to be able to grease the skids and do it a little bit quicker and get better results and keep yourself systemic and organized. But the point is, a survey, whether you ask somebody the questions over the phone or you send it to them and they fill it out, when you ask the right questions they say are the window to somebody's soul, right? Questions direct the mind. When you ask somebody a question, you hijack their mind for a few seconds. And next thing you know, they're thinking about something they might not have thought about before. So when you ask the question, hey, how do you like the loan officers that you refer to follow up with you best? And I'm real, well, geez, I never thought of that before. Now all of a sudden they're thinking about something they haven't really thought about before, and you're starting to control them a little bit. Here's the second thing. When they reply, you now have two-way engagement. They're participating with your prospecting activity. That's a huge win for you, right? They are not only participating, but you are gathering important intel. They're telling you how they like to be followed up with, right? Isn't that going to change your dialogue with them moving forward when you get those questions answered? And then the last component, here's the most important part of this, right? Once people, this is the heuristic part, once people have a tendency to make a verbal statement to something, when they actually state something or they write it down, it's now their words. They take ownership of it, even after they might have changed their mind. Like, people try and stay accountable to things that they say and put out there, whether they speak it verbally or they put it out there digitally. So now when you call that person back after they complete that Love Your Lender survey, hey, Giovanni, you said here that you like email and text follow-ups versus just calls, and you like being contacted, for updates only when necessary, not every day. Based on the way that you said that, Giovanni, you should have a meeting with me, because I think I could be a great resource for you for that. Giovanni's not going to turn around and say to me, oh, no, I'm not going to meet with you now. He's going to be like, wow, I did say that, and that's something I committed to saying, that I should probably meet with this person because that's what I value and that's what's important to me. And that's how you wind up converting, and you move somebody to the point of where you get into a spot where scarcity. When you do this right, that last step of scarcity is going to be in a spot where your pipeline, if you do these manual funnel steps and you follow some of this training, in 90 days from now, you will have a pipeline that is chasing you instead of you chasing it. You won't be able to keep up with it. And so I have a certain amount of realtors that I work with, that I take care of in this capacity, that I'm going to take care of you, Giovanni, right? And because of that, I can meet with you only on Wednesday. And once I have a certain amount of realtors that I'm working with, that's it. I can't serve everyone the same way or it would water me down, right? That's creating scarcity for yourself. And you might be thinking to yourself, you're brand new. How can I do that? I had to figure these things out 25 years ago. I was young. I had to figure it out because my livelihood depended on it. And I carried these principles forward from, telephone and pounding the pavement. And then all of a sudden, digital world came out, and, and how do we move and transition some of that stuff from there? So, Elysia, anything to add there? We're going to kind of move in a
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll show them the survey in a little bit. And I just love that survey. When we come to it, I can definitely comment. But at this point, we've only covered just like one strategy, right? The other parts are the tools and the systems that are all in place. And for you guys to have an effective prospecting strategy, you typically need all these things, right? You need a CRM. You need your admin to make any changes, or if you make those changes, it takes forever, right? You got to go back and forth with your marketing department, or you got to do it yourself. And who wants to spend time doing that? You also would need a way to track engagement, right? Who you called, when did you call them? Did they respond? Right? Just so many different things. Your contact created in your phone. How do you get it everywhere else? You need sales funnel software. You need a funnel builder to make the funnels for you. You also need digital business cards, and the list just can go on and on and on.
And when it goes on, and look, there are, I'd be curious, and again, give me some responses here in the chat box. Even though I'm not checking them, I can still see the number going up.
I'm checking.
Usually when it comes to CRM functions, how many of you wait until a certain line of qualification, whatever that is, before you actually take that contact from your Google contacts or Outlook or wherever else you put all them? You wait till it gets to a certain spot before you put them into your CRM functions, right? I see that all the time. There's this like, oh, they're going to wait here. But what happens above that line of whatever qualification, I'm not talking about that they qualify for the loan, but whatever it is makes them a hot prospect for you. Do you all have a tendency to wait to a certain spot before you do that? Because I see it happen all the time, and you're not wrong for doing that, because CRMs are really designed to start working with more qualified prospects. There's a line. This is something I hope you all pay attention. There's a line above your qualification standards and what happens above that. And what happens below that, cool, maybe the CRM sorts out, but what happens above that, it's the wild, wild west for 90% of people that are responsible for generating their own leads and referral sources. Meaning that the line above that has you out, one day you're going to the networking meeting and you come home with 25 business cards. Another day you're pounding LinkedIn. The other day you're calling, and there's no structure. It's not systemic, and people are lost. And therefore the people that make it into that next level, it's far less than it should be. What Elysia has designed, and I kind of, she had listed all these things on here. She wanted to create the ultimate simple platform that handled everything above that. They gave you a layer on top of your line of qualification that allowed you to conduct all your prospecting activities with the right tools, to not do all the work for you, because that just doesn't work. You need a way to be able to not have to think about a lot of the things that you have to do, but we must be the ones to do it, right? So she wanted to build a platform that could do all that. And again, whether you dive in and you try out what we're about to show you here, that's totally up to you, because what we talked about before, hopefully those manual funnel steps, when we talked about there, it's worth your time for being and sitting here today. But again, Elysia has taken the time, all her 20 plus years, all the success that she's had, and she's boiled it down to some of the few basics, not to help you be a better salesperson, but to help you be a better prospector and have a pipeline of deals, again, that's chasing you around. And
yes,
so
and I'm just going to add real quick, Rocco, because I noticed Justin's comment that his are automatically added. So we're not talking about when you have a file in Encompass or whatever your loan operating software is, and the realtors are, pulled out and put in Surefire or whatever your CRM is, the client's information once you have the loan app. We're talking about that's a CRM after they're your client. What we're talking about, and Rocco was explaining, is above the line. So we're talking about all your prospecting activities before they become a client. So whether they become a client this month or next month, right? And again, when was the best time to do prospecting? 6 months ago. When's the second best time? Now. It's before that. And the other thing is I've seen a lot of memes lately about loan officers. And I hope this isn't you guys, but loan officers who are getting laid off and they paid for all these leads in their CRM and instantly they don't have access. All right. This app is in your phone. All your database that you're prospecting is yours.
And it will not clutter up the CRM post qualification, meaning that this is
Correct.
your
It's totally separate.
funnel on top of it to your prospecting activities. It's personalized and set up for you. We're not going to cover all of it today because the purpose today is to get you value and educated on things that you could do without necessarily having the access. But what I do want to do for sure is take a couple minutes and just show you some of the things that are put in to the tool. And then Elysia will give you some of the details how you can access this and give the tool a try. What I want you to know first and foremost is that everything that you see here might not make a lot of sense when you look at what I'm sharing here on the dashboard of this app. But when you do go and register, there's a quick onboarding tutorial that gets you familiar with all these little rooms in your little digital house for your prospecting activities. The two biggest components here that we're going to pay attention to, if I hit the more button down in the lower corner there, you'll see that it's able to slide open the feature sets. Elysia being one of the best coaches and trainers in the industry, if I hit this coaching button here, you're going to see that some of the very best trainings that you could possibly want to learn about your business, some of the type of trainings that we talked about here today, there's just a ton of coaching concepts in here that's going to allow you not just learn how to use the app, but also the philosophy, right? If you don't know how to prospect, the app's never going to work for you anyway. That's why we want to teach you how to prospect properly, because we know if you know how to prospect manually without any of this stuff that I'm showing you here, then this is only going to make it go faster and better for you, right? It's very important to understand that, the why we go about it. So there's tons of coaching content, videos, and modules in there for you to learn. But if I tap this resources button over here, you're going to see something that looks pretty familiar. Awareness, enrichment, credibility, motivate, right? Now above that is a digital business card. A digital business card is something that you can share with anybody, anytime, anywhere. So we didn't necessarily put it in a manual funnel step process, but when you have your app, you can put your booking link in there. You can send out content and surveys to all your contacts. But if I sent this over to Elysia, right, all Elysia would have to do, if I texted it over to her or sent it over to her on social media, she'd hit save, and everything I want her to have from me goes right into her contact card on her device as a contact. Now, how many people I know, my name's silly. 90% of people spell my name wrong. I give them a business card, they don't put it in their phone right, or they misspell something on the email address and they never get communicated with me. If I want to share my digital business card with Elysia, I just tap the box there, and down the bottom here, I've got the option. Do I want to email it to her? Do I want to text it? Or maybe I want to share it with her on Facebook Messenger or LinkedIn direct message. The neat thing about sharing resources here is everything is tracked for you. If I send it to her, when she clicked on it, the app sends me a push notification and lets me know she's participating in the prospecting activities that I'm engaging with. And so in each manual funnel step, if I tap on the plus button here, say under enrichment, you could see that we've put in pre-written content that's already personalized for you that basically is going to allow you to communicate with your different types of contacts, whether it's a client, prospect, an existing contact, or real. But what about a compliment message, what we talked about? You're like, well, how am I going to what would I say to somebody? You know, most people, the worst time to have to think of what to do and say is in the moment you have to do and say it. And that's why Elysia is taking the time to write out the words that she would use, who's already the expert, and you copy the right cat. And here's what Elysia would say if she was reaching out to a realtor. Hey, Elysia, just sending you a quick note to let you know that I'm grateful to be connected with an agent like you who has a great reputation in the industry. Let me know if I can ever be of assistance professionally or personally. Gang, it's just a simple text message or an email, however you want to send it. But it's a compliment and it's something that people appreciate. We talked about adding value, right? And in here, we have information here. So if we were going to send to a realtor, you've got multiple options for that information. And inside here, hey, now that the Fed has signaled more rate hikes are likely in the near future, I want to share some insights to what insider experts are saying about the real estate industry. And there's that Inman report in there, right? And all the information in there. So you're adding value to people. Again, when you send information from the app to a contact, it's all being documented and updated in the contact card, contact manager, whatever you want to call it. We won't get into today. But let's get to the motivate part, the call to action part. I want to skip down to because I know we're running out of time. And this is what we talked about before with the survey under solution alignment, right? If I wanted to send this over to a realtor contact of mine, again, I tap the button. If I want to email it, text it, or share it on social. By the way, why do robbers rob banks? Anybody know the answer to that question? Anybody know? Because that's where the money is. So when it comes to, do you email, do you text, do you go to somebody, which channel do you use to communicate with someone on social media? You go where your prospects are at and they like to be best communicated with, right? That's why you don't, well, you may like the phone, but your prospect might like Facebook, right? So that's why you have multiple options in here. Anyway, I share the survey, handful of quick questions. Elysia, you can cover these, real fast, and the value of getting this filled. And we're gonna give you all a challenge to get this survey filled out by a number of realtors to get some more free extended training from Elysia. She didn't even know I loaded that in the app this morning.
Awesome. Thanks, Rocco. All right. Always stepping it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are questions that I always ask new realtors, whether it's in person. The nice thing is if you're using the sequence, you're going to ask these before you actually meet with them. So then you know how to treat them when you do meet them in person and when you have your first deal. Also, there's a whole script I have for the buying agent as well as the listing agent. And then you know how to call them, right? When you have that deal, and you do it every single time. But anyway, these are super simple, right? If you can scroll back to the top, sorry, Rocco. Mm-hmm. These are super simple, right? Do you have a lender you're actively sending your referrals to? Yes or no? Okay. In your opinion, what's the most important aspect of a strong partnership with your lender, right? They could check one of these, they could check all of these. Then you know what's important to them. And given the choice, well, how do you prefer communicating? This is more important than ever. I have some realtors that don't even pick up the phone and they just text me leads. Okay, awesome, right? What's your desired level of follow-up from your lender? What do you want to know? And you can tell them. And then last but not least, which of the following describes your relationship with your last or current lender? I love them. They're okay. I'm looking for a new lender, right? If they're already in your contacts, their information will be filled in here and they'll just hit the submit button. If not, and it's a new realtor, right? Because you could text this to one-on-one or one-to-many on social media and then collect their information and collect the survey from them. So if you have an opportunity to start building that again, if they're new or from scratch. And it's great. You can put it even in social media and ask realtors how they want to be treated, right? Everybody wants to know how they want to be treated. If you ask me, I'm going to answer that, right? That's a respectful question.
So we're not going to go into the whole entire, we're almost running out of time. We're not getting the platform. We want you to know here's my recommendation. I see Mike's got a hand up. We're going to answer questions and stay for those that want to learn more about what we talked about earlier or about the app here. But I want to encourage this. Here's the takeaway. 5 to 10 people a day will keep the bill collectors away. If you are able to take 5 to 10 prospects a day and start moving them through these manual funnel steps that we discussed, whether it's through the app or you do this just through yourself and what you learned here today, I can promise you that you are going to have about, I can't make any definite guarantees, but you are going to have a pipeline of people that are going to be chasing you. Because here's the thing, when you are moving people through those steps, if you take 100 people, probably 90% of them are going to get stopped somewhere in a step because in your industry, the buying window isn't always open, right? It's not the time, right? So great, you've established credibility with me, whatever the case may be. Elysia, I'm not saying, I'm saying not now, just bought or just refiled last month. Well, as you are bringing people through in the app, when people hit there, that's where you use long-term follow-up. That's where you start to leverage automation and follow up. No problem, Elysia. Would it be okay if I stayed in touch with you time to time with some value added emails? That way, when your circumstances change, you'll know where to find me. I promise I'm not going to spam your inbox. Would that be okay? Permission-based marketing, right? Throwing a lot here out in the last 2 minutes. But what's going to happen is 90% of your contacts that you're moving through these manual funnels are going to land in these long-term campaigns. However, you're going to find about 5 to 10% of those people are going to move right through. You're going to be in the right place at the right time because you did the activity. And that's enough for you to start closing deals in 60 to 90 days from now. And that will never stop because you are going to be able to focus on those who are moving through those steps without sacrificing the long-term follow-up from those that are not ready yet, right? And that's how this system is set up. Elysia, we had a goal setting call a week ago. Whenever it was there was somebody there, I don't remember the gentleman's name, but he asked like, well, geez, how many times do I reach out to somebody? And I thought about it after the call. And look, another time we're going to talk to you guys about a prospecting sequence. Like how many times I personally try and reach out to somebody who I don't know or is not responding to me that I do know. If they're important to me, right, and I want them on my highly qualified list and they seem like the right target for me, 12 times in a month. But I will not make 12 phone calls. I will call them 4 times in a month. I will send them 4 emails in a month, and I'll touch them 4 times on social media in a month, and I'll spread them out in those touch points. And when those people then start to accept my information, then I move them through those manual funnel steps. Look, we can teach you all that stuff, and we will continue to do that through boot camp trainings, content that gets loaded in the coaching program in here for sure. And you will learn more about the power of this platform. Here's the rally. I put it in there. Elysia, you haven't seen this yet. So I know I'm 3 minutes over, but you all need to stay and see this because for those that take advantage of that realtor survey, that's just one thing here that's going to be a good prospecting tool for you. But we've created a promo that I called Realtor Rally. And you can see in here, there's a progress bar. Now, if you are able to get 25 realtors to fill that out. Now, this will reset on November 1st, right? So, we'll call it for November. The contest will automatically reset on November 1st. But here's what's going to wind up happening for you. If you get 25 realtors to fill out that Love Your Lender survey, you're going to win access to a private training session with a few other winners, and you'll learn how to become the lender of choice for those realtors, because then we could start talking about selling. We've only talked about prospecting. And I know a lot about selling as well as Elysia. So if you want to be able to up your game and some of your sales skills and learn a little bit more there, participate in the prospecting activities and you'll get access to a private training for that as well. So you're every time that somebody fills out that survey, I was on my friend Amir here, you'll see the results of the survey. They populate right in. This is a different survey Amir filled out. But yeah, I got a push notification and all the answers populate right in to the notes. So I have everything all in one spot inside the contact card. So I am not going to go feature dump on 50 plus people right now, Elysia. You can tell them how to get access to the platform from here, and then we can stay behind and do Q&A for
Definitely.
people.
I see we have some questions. Thank you, Rob.
For sure.
So let's talk about everything you get inside the app with your paid membership. You get access to the dashboard, which tracks how hot your referrals are. You get access to the resource library. You get access to pre-written email campaigns. You get access to pre-written text messages. You get access to pre-structured prospecting scenarios. Okay, we have different scenarios for realtors versus different scenarios for potential clients. And we are always adding new content as well. So some of these also you can use for certified financial planners, one of my favorite. You can use those for attorneys. You also get access to how that hot list tracks everything. You get access to the activity log. You get a digital business card. You also get the crushing limiting beliefs training that I did just for loan officers. If you guys think that that's helpful right now, I can tell you everybody's loving that course. Also, I'd have monthly office hours where I'm going to do live coaching. Rocco and I will be on together, and you can ask us questions about the app, questions about scenarios, questions about anything mortgage, sales, training related, and we'll be there and we'll help you. You also get the pre-built surveys and pre-built opt-in pages for referrals. Yes, you can ask your client for referrals. How many of you guys have a system where you ask them for referrals at closing, after closing, right? You might even have a system for surveys after closing.
Here's an
Right?
example.
These
Okay.
are ahead of time, but you have these opt-in pages for referrals. I had a realtor that was like, "Oh, can you give me an endorsement on Google?" Yeah, absolutely. Can you fill out this referral page for me?
And then
Yes.
you got as many referrals. Every time that
Yeah.
somebody fills out these referral pages for you, it creates a new contact in the app for the people that they send to you, and you get push notified. Yeah, it's a
And those can go to realtors, those can go to clients, those can go to other referral partners. And you get the power of mass marketing like a big box mortgage company in the palm of your hand that you control. So having said all that, we'll definitely answer the questions, but I put that link in there and I'll put it in again in the chat. It's loanofficerreferralsecrets.com.
I think we're gonna add that on there, down there, right?
Yep.
Bottom, loanofficerreferralsecrets.com.
Yep. And it's in the chat. And then let's go ahead and get to some questions that we had. Okay, so can you send this message to your realtors all at once? That's kind of not the point. That you really don't want to blast them. If you wanted to do that and you wanted to send something to the realtors all at once, I would go to a realtor social media group. There's plenty of them in Facebook, for example. And then you could put that survey there, or you could copy paste any of the messages there. But if you remember from the start, it's authentic sharing technology. That's the perfect blend of automation and authenticity because you drive it, right? The whole point is if you dump all of them in the follow-up marketing, which you can do that, but we don't recommend it until you have permission. It's permission-based marketing, right? Because if you dump them all in a CRM and you don't have a relationship with them and you haven't built these steps of trust that we're talking about, they're going to unsubscribe, right? It might not be the first time, but the second time they actually see it, if they had time to pay attention to it, they're going to unsubscribe. It happens all the time. Versus when it's permission-based marketing and we don't even send something out like it's about every 30 days, but it's always something of content. It's not me saying product, 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 right? If there's anything that we've learned in the past, my gosh, 6 months, yes, realtors want to learn about our products, but they need to ask you, right? They really don't want to hear you talking at them. And interestingly enough, that Inman article, what I love about that article is it talks about how realtors need loan officers now more than ever. And we are here to support them, right? Those days of showing up with your hand out doesn't work, right? So a couple questions. Is there a timeline to know when and how often? If there's no engagement, are there multiple pieces of content for each stage?
Yeah.
So
I would take
yes
that.
and yes. Go ahead, Rock.
Yeah, no, I just, so the thing is that unfortunately, we are all different personalities as human beings. We all have our own way that we like to be communicated with on our own timeline of things. And that's why this is another part that's manual on purpose, meaning that if I take Tori, Elysia, Giovanni, Greg, if I'm trying to move you all strategically through those manual funnel steps, unfortunately, it might take me longer to get Elysia from one step to another. I can't say after 2 weeks, should I have Elysia there? The thing about forcing you to engage with these prospects, right? You'll know based on the engagement back from them, red light, green light, right? Red light, you're still stuck in this stage. I haven't done a good enough job adding enough value yet to be able to bring you down to this next level. This is forcing you to do those activities to do that. And again, also at the same time, it's you getting to learn those prospects, and they'll filter themselves out along the way.
Yep. And there's also a point where if they're not interested, that's where you can ask if I could keep up with you from time to time. There's already a text message. You can send that email or social media. And then yes, you put them in the drip.
And
And again, good, Rocco.
I was gonna say, by the way, there was I do want you all to know, we didn't have a chance to get into it today. There is the ability to modify some of the um the text or the email copy before you hit the send button.
Yep.
So if you don't like the exact words that Elysia has in there, you can change it to yours. There's also a section in the resources that allows you to actually create your own messages that you can save and put in your own links of content. What I'm going to encourage you to do is don't try and become a digital marketing guru, because that's where a lot of people get lost. I promise you that a lot
That's
of people,
why we did it all for you.
I'm going to go, yeah, I mean, again, be a copycat, copy the right cat. And then if you want to tweak it a little bit here and there, by all means, I'm going to encourage you to do that. Sometimes, when we're thinking about this, like, do you give them that kind of functionality and access? So there is some autonomy that you all have there as you learn it. And we're not going to teach you how to use it all today. I just want you to know, if you're like, you're not going to feel too restricted, right? So I want to make sure that I shared that with the group here.
Yeah. Thanks. And then Denise asked, are you sending this out cold to agents? Yeah, you can. If you bought a list, great. The best way I suggest using it is as soon as you meet a new agent at a networking event or online or a referral from somebody else, I would start the sequence of building trust, right? That's the whole reason. And you can even say, if you want a cold reach to an agent, the first one we showed was the compliment. If you want to ask how you heard about them, you can, right? I never suggest picking up the phone and calling a realtor without doing your due diligence about that realtor, right? Because that way it gives you the opportunity to actually have a genuine connection, right? Or if somebody else introduced you. But yeah, that all absolutely, you can send it out to cold agents. You wouldn't use it for agents that you already have a relationship with, unless they haven't given you any business in a while and you want to rekindle that relationship, then absolutely for them as well. Okay.
So Giovanni, your question regarding video, of course, yeah, I mean, there's preloaded. This is probably not going to be the best page, but because this is loan officer only content. But the neat thing about it is the video gets framed inside of your own landing page, and that's your footer down the bottom. So all your contact information is connected there. When the prospect clicks on the link for the video, you'll get a push notification, and we're also tracking how much of the video they're watching. All of that is updated in the person's, in the activity log over here. You see this? Move my mouse so you all can see. There's the activity log, which shows all the resources and content that was sent to the prospect and what their engagement was, right? And they start accruing a score next to their name. I did see a question in there. Somebody said, well, what's a hot prospect? We give people a score based on the engagement that they participate in when you're prospecting to them. Once they go over a score of 50, they'll get this little red flame over there that indicates they're a hot prospect for you. And then you could filter those people down at the top here. So you can go kind of here, filter your contacts by different labels and stuff. But the point is that you have the ability to send out videos, yes, and you could also toggle this 5-star component to maybe drop the score a little bit, because maybe you talk to them and realize that they're not really an 87. You want to drop them down to a 4-star, and you could play with this score there and override some of that. So,
and since you brought in video too, Rocco, I'll just jump in and say you can actually invite all your realtors or all your clients to a webinar. Let's say you wanted to do a first-time home buyer webinar, and now is actually a great market for first-time home buyers. So you can invite them all to a webinar right out of the app. It's phenomenal. And Tori asked, does the system have LinkedIn marketing? Yeah, you can actually send these messages when you click on a particular message or whatever the resources that you want to send. It gives you the option email, text, or other. It's like the little sharing picture. And if you click on that sharing picture, you can pick to send it through LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media you want. Let me just make sure I'm getting any other questions. Is the survey customizable? The survey isn't as we have it. But if you're asking about the current lender relationship, you could just put that part, right? Because if they don't have a lender, I would, you can actually customize some information in the app. But if you really want to know who that LO is for recruitment purposes, you're just going to follow up as soon as they fill out that survey, right? There's no need to ask who it is. I mean, you could if you want, right? But as soon as they say, obviously you want them to say no, right? So you want to be their lender, but if they say yes, that's fine. We're just going to work to build trust. Or if you're a branch manager and you want to recruit them, then you're going to follow up. I saw you answered yes, that you already have a lender, just a follow-up message, again, in whatever preferred way they said they wanted to be communicated with. If it's phone and they reply, okay, pick it up. Hey,
And
who's your lender? I always like to meet other lenders, right?
yeah, and I was just kind of wheeling around, just showing this is where creating your personal stuff. So when you go to resources, the preloaded stuff is under company, but then you click personal, and that's where you could load your own stuff and categorize it however you'd like. So anyway, a lot of different options around on some of that stuff. And then also again, there's a lot of different task features. You can set, kind of your to-do list, tie them to contacts. You can see things that were past due that need to get done, things that have been completed. So it's a productivity tool to the max for you, but it's not overcomplicated. Everything in here is very simple to use. And anyway, it's designed that way on purpose so you can filter out the things that aren't going to drive the growth of your database and getting to where you need to be at there. So
awesome. And yeah, we do update content. I mean, we just updated a lot of content in the past 2 weeks. And then of course, Rocco added that realtor challenge apparently this week. So yes, we update content all the time. And so you guys are probably asking about the price. We talked about all the things. I mean, even just the monthly office hours to coach with me one-on-one, that's $1,000 an hour right now. And if you add in everything else from the app, all the funnels you get, the pre-text messages, right? Again, you guys can do this all on your own. But the bottom line is success leaves clues. And the easiest way to take advantage of it is with the app, because it's already all done for you. And we're going to keep training you and keep coaching you and however we can support you. So right now it's just $1 to test drive it for 15 days, $1. If you guys want to sign up for the annual, you get 2 months free. You don't get 2 months after you pay for 12 months. It's $9.99 or $9.97 to sign up for 12 months. And that includes month 11 and 12 for free. So you're only paying for 10. And honestly, I just was reading an article in the New York Times. The average commission for loan officers right now, the average commission is $4,000, right? So if you buy the annual, I mean, the return on investment is phenomenal. Even if you get one deal from the first month on the $99, if you want to go month to month, that's fine. And I will say also, you keep all your data, all right? If you decide not to. So again, we talked about the other CRMs that if your company owns it and they turn it off, you don't have those contacts. You keep all your contacts in the app, all right? So, but if you look at that, $99 a month, if you got one deal, which you will get more than one deal if you work this consistently as a prospecting tool, that's a 40-to-1 return on the average commission.
Giovanni broke my heart for a second, and I understood what he was saying. He said,
what did he say?
Bad. And then I realized what he was saying after that, like badass. Okay.
Oh. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yes, great. Thanks,
Yeah.
Giovanni. Okay, good. Yeah.
There was a good, Eric asked a question in there about where would you start if you were a new loan officer or no referral partners of past clients? Well, being here today, Eric, is probably a great start for you. One of the things that we've done in the past year or so is every once in a while, we've tried to find somebody like yourself who is brand new and is showing up with sometimes without a lot of, I would call habits that need to be unlearned in order to do something like this.
Yeah.
So what we like to do is especially work with somebody like you, and we might even try and make a little micro documentary of your journey being coached through using this app and developing your referral sources and systems, and turn it into a little 5 or 10 minute documentary video. So if you're in the app as a user, Eric, we will make sure that we let Pat know, Elysia, try and run Eric down and see if he'd be interested in participating with some quick coaching to get him up and running there and meeting with us
Sure.
over the
And
next.
we have plenty of training for that as well, for new
Well,
LOs.
Yeah, and there are options there for teams and branches. Of course, we've explored that, and of course, spam compliant and GDRP, all that stuff. We're above board. You own your data. I mean, we have a strong development team supporting this, and we've gone through it all to be there. Awesome. Thanks, Joey.
Cool. Is there anything else that we missed?
And guys, you can ask questions in here that's not related to the app. I know that was kind of our crescendo, but if it was some of the training information that we had shared in there, I was just like, if you feel stuck somewhere in those prospecting activities, feel free. You know, it's part of what we want to make sure that we do on a call like this or a Zoom meeting like this, is make sure that you leave with some value that can be uplifting for you as well. We will let you all get back to your day then with that.
Awesome, you guys. Thanks so much for showing up, playing full out. Tori, thanks. Our pleasure. Well, we're always trying to add value and serve you any way possible. So we want you guys to get the biggest bang for your buck. Stan, yes, this is actually before your CRM. Stan said he came in late. Should this be used instead of a CRM? This is a prospecting tool that goes before the CRM. All right, cool. Thanks, you guys. So good to see you, and go crush it. And I hope you finish out strong this month. Cheers to your success.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Rocco. Thanks, everybody.